Hello everyone, Bible believers around the world, and we're back with another mini Bible lesson in the book of Jubilees. In today's lesson, we're going to be covering Jubilees chapter 25, and we're going to be discussing how Rebecca's issue with Esau's Canaanite wives was actually a righteousness issue and not a racial issue. Let's get into it right away. And in the second year of this week, in this Jubilee, Rebeca called Jacob her son, and spake unto him, saying, My son, do not take thee a wife of the daughters of Canaan, as Esau thy brother, who took him 2 wives of the daughters of Canaan. And they have embittered my soul with all their unclean deeds. For all their deeds are fornication and lust, and there is no righteousness with them, for their deeds are evil. Boom. Right there. So, Rebecca's issue with Esau's Canaanite wives and why they stressed her out so much is because of the pure wickedness and nastiness that these Canaanite women were doing and how their wicked behavior was. Now, we've discussed the doctrine on the channel that teaches that so-called interracial marriage is a sin and the Most High Yah hates it. But we've been exposing it time and time again on this channel. Rebeca had the perfect opportunity to say how she did not want to see her Shemitic sons with Hamitic women. She had the perfect opportunity to say that. And another thing I'd like to mention is in Jubilees, there was actually a meeting that was held. Abraham held a meeting where he talked to, I believe it was Isaac, Jacob, and Ishmael about how they were going to be, how it was their job to be righteous people on the earth and to do what was right and be pleasing to the Most High Yah. And during that meeting, he spoke of not taking a wife from the daughters of Canaan. That was a perfect opportunity for Abraham to say, do not take a wife from anybody who's not of your nation, or what we would call today so-called race. But Abraham, in his last few days, in his latter days of his life, wanted to emphasize with much importance not to take a wife of the Canaanites. And Rebecca did the same thing here. And Rebecca's soul was embittered with their unclean deeds, for all their deeds are fornication, lust. And she said there is no righteousness with them, for their deeds are evil. She said there's nothing righteous about these women. Keep in mind, Rebecca said that there's nothing good about these women. No righteousness was in these 2 Canaanite women. Nothing. So in other words, the Most High Yah loves righteousness and holiness. There was nothing for the Most High Yah to love in these 2 women. And this is something that's very important to emphasize. And I've definitely been one of the few Bible content creators who has covered this issue in the Israelite community, because a lot of guys who have come after, who have come out of One West Camp doctrine don't really speak about this. But this is a doctrine that is arguably one of the most dangerous One West Camp doctrines, which it's not even really a One West Camp doctrine. It finds its origin in Ku Klux Klan Christianity doctrine and the Talmud, and the One West Camps just later picked it up. So this doctrine is what's causing children to be put on the street. We have 5-year-olds right now who are on the streets because of this type of stuff. I mean, you'll have an Israelite man who's been married, to a Chinese woman for 15 years. They'll have 9 kids, and One West will come up and say she's a descendant of Moab, and you have to get rid of her and get rid of the kids. And now you have orphans. So this is something very serious that is breaking up households and causing starvation, the whole 9 yards. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration, So just wanted to cover this. This is something very important to cover. This is one of the most dangerous One West Camp doctrines. But like I said, it's actually, when you teach this, you're actually teaching Ku Klux Klan Christianity doctrine, and you're actually teaching Talmudic doctrine. Now, before I end this lesson, there's one more thing I'd like to cover about the doctrine that says that it's racial and not covenant-based. That would make much of the Bible make zero sense. For instance, Isaiah 56 and many other passages in the Bible talk about those of other nations. When they take hold of Yah's covenant, they can be grafted in and live among the Israelites and be as like one that is born in the land. The Most High Yah says that time and time again. But with this teaching, that wouldn't be the case, because even though they are in the covenant, even though they are keeping the law, even though they are righteous people, there would still be separation from them simply because of their so-called ethnicity. So they wouldn't really be as one they wouldn't really be treated as one that's born in the land like the Most High said they would be, and they wouldn't really be a part of the house of Israel like the scripture talks about. See it in the book of Judas with the Ammonite dude, because Israel still wouldn't be accepting them with this doctrine. And one thing that I've thought about with this again is, say we have a white dude from Gomer who's traveled 2,000 miles to come see the Israelites and to live like them and to follow their ways. And he is grafted in and takes hold of Yah's covenant. And then the time eventually comes where he wants a wife. Say he was a young dude when he first came. Now he's 30 and still single. Who is he supposed to marry? Because the nearest white person is 2,000 miles away. And everybody in the kingdom is an Israelite. And everybody outside the kingdom is against the law, daughter of a strange God. So is he supposed to just stay single forever? Because the scripture talks about he shall be as one that is like born in the land, part of the house of Israel. But based on this doctrine, he was never really accepted, because there's still separation between him and the Israelites. They still keep him to the side, regardless of what the Most High has said time and time again. So we start to see how this doesn't make any sense. We can look at Ruth the Moabitess on how when she came to live among the Israelites, she married an Israelite man. She didn't have to just sit there and hope that one day, maybe one day, a Moabite man would make the same call and decide to follow the Most High. And newsflash, they didn't. No Moabite man ever came. So she would have been waiting forever and nothing would have ever happened. So that's something that doesn't make any sense. When you teach a lot of these Talmudic Ku Klux Klan doctrines, they make the Bible not fit, because the Bible is like a Lego set and it's meant to all fit together perfectly. And when you're in Yah's loving truth, everything fits together perfectly. But when you're following these devil doctrines of men, you like what you're hearing when you're teaching over here to the left. But when you start reading over here to the right, everything is just twisted and 360 and doesn't make any sense. The Bible makes zero sense when you make it a racial issue and not a covenant issue. And there's so many nuggets, like we've talked about in the Bible, that show that it was a covenant issue. Samson wanting to date a Philistine woman. What did his parents say? Why must you go into the uncircumcised Philistines? We've talked about it before on the channel. Uncircumcised are lawless people. They weren't keeping the law. The abomination that Judah committed was marrying the daughter of a strange God. The same abomination from Jubilees chapter 30. What was happening in Jubilees chapter 30? Those people were a lawless people once again. Once again. There's never been a righteous person in the Bible who has been thrown out because of blood and bones. And I know that's going to make a lot of the KKK guys mad. That's going to make a lot of the One Westerners mad. It's going to make a lot of the Talmudists mad. But, the whole idea of preserving your whiteness and preserving your blackness is not biblical. That is modern foolishness. It's about preserving our righteousness. Israel casted out members of their own seed to keep people righteous. Anyone who's read the Torah will read those scriptures where it say, and any man who does this shall be separated from his people, shall be thrust out of Israel. The Israelites weren't playing around. So we read a lot of the stuff about, Ezra and Nehemiah, Jubilees chapter 30, and we're like, man, they hated and they didn't tolerate, that mixed marriage stuff. But you look at it, and there was men of Israel who got kicked out. A guy got, what was it? Didn't he get killed or beat up or something because he was collecting sticks from the Shabbat? So Israel didn't play with nobody's foolishness. So that's something else. We had people of our own seed be cast out, but that's something that doesn't get talked about neither. But anyways, hope this lesson helped you. Take care and bye for now.